that should do it. Let's check. Oh yeah, I gotta retweet that.
Oh. And I will do that too.
Retweet. Oop. Okay, so let's check. We're live on Restream. Live on Twitch. My computer is being weird. Live control room is the way to go live. No thanks, YouTube. And we're live on Mixer. All right.
Awesome.
We are looking good. Are you guys ready to start this?
Totally.
Let's do it.
All right, starting in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of Picking Up the Pixels RPG Love. I'm your host, Boston, and joining me as always is Musim.
Hey.
And Mina.
Hi.
Nothing to really talk about at the beginning of the show. Well, maybe patreon.com/E1M1 the Wonder Numbers. Get all the cool behind the scenes and early access stuff. $5 a month is the recommended tier. That's a month, not like, throwing no shade here. Some podcasts do it per episode. We don't. We do it per month. $5 a month is super cheap. Patreon.com/E1M1. Let's just dive right into what you've been playing this past month, Musim.
So, I accidentally found out about a game that I decided to buy and then spent approximately 50 hours in beating it.
Okay, I love how this is starting.
It is called Fell Seal Arbiter's Mark.
I have been so curious about what this game is.
Oh.
This game is Final Fantasy Tactics. This is straight up Final Fantasy Tactics. Like, you have 20 some odd classes, you have 10 some odd special classes. The way the characters are set up is, you have all your classes, your equipped classes, passives and such, but then you can also equip 2 passives unlocked from other classes. You can equip a counterattack. Like, when you stop in the tactics grid, you determine like what direction you're facing. Like,
nice, so it's got everything.
This is Final Fantasy Tactics, and I did not know how much I needed a Final Fantasy Tactics style game in my life until I played this.
Boy, between this and the Dark Crystal game that's going to come out this year, that's very much Final Fantasy Tactics, and that Final Fantasy Brave Exvius game that's probably coming out next year. Boy, there's a lot of real tactics games coming out.
Yeah. Well, and I like this one too, because you can probably bust through the story in like 30 hours. Like, I didn't like max out all my guys or anything like that. I probably have, like, on my main party, I probably have maybe 5 classes mastered through the lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out it was a Kickstarter game, which is feels ironic to me that, like, oh, this game I'm excited about. Oh, it turns out it's a Kickstarter thing that
right from like 5 years ago.
It's like half the stuff I back.
Right.
But I guess this game came out like at some point in the last year and was just recently ported over to Switch, which is where I played it. Yeah. So, like, the story's, it's good. It's all right. It's kind of the world is set up to where you have this evil beast called the Maw, and this band of heroes takes out the Maw and then kind of starts ruling the world. And basically what they do is they imprison it and then kind of live off its power type of thing. So they're called the Immortals. And you have, I can't remember, like 5 or 7 of the Council of the Immortals. And the game starts and they kind of indicate, hey, one of these guys might be a traitor. And I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but when you see the face portraits of the Immortals, you're going to see one and be like, that guy.
Evil dude Darkblade is like, it's probably that guy.
It's probably the guy with the glowing red eyes, right, with a mischievous smile.
The one giant face scar.
But, like, there's a lot more to the story than just whether or not that character is the bad guy. But,
sure.
It's, like, it's, I don't know, I think there's like 40 or 50 different, like, story mission cutscene type things.
Oh, wow.
And, like, graphically, it's kind of, I go back and forth on it a lot. Like, part of me likes the graphic style, another part of me feels like it's too, like, I don't know the word for it. Like, I feel like they definitely used, no, I'm not going to remember the name of the software now. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. There's a piece of software for animation that a lot of indie devs use that basically allows them to take a 2D picture and give it a skeleton and move it around.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that they've actually used that on this, but I suspect they might have. But at the same time, they get way more animation out of their characters than I would expect you to be able to get out of that program. So I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not an artist. I make music.
Yeah, the screenshots on this look pretty good. It definitely follows the style of something like Final Fantasy Tactics or like Ogre Tactics, but it looks much more modern.
Yeah. You go to your job screen for your characters, and it's just a circle of the job costumes that you
Perfect.
go through and pick. I do wish they innovated like on the formula like a little bit more than they did, because grinding is grinding's never really great, but it is very much a slog in that game if you decide to do any grinding. Like, the story missions give way more ability points than a grind mission, just patrolling does.
Right.
It's also like, if you play it, they'll tell you in the game, yeah, look for this little flag to trigger an event in an area that are only available sometimes, and sometimes only a limited time. The thing they don't tell you is sometimes you'll just be randomly wandering around the map and run into an event. That'll just automatically trigger with no warning or no indication. So kind of just make a habit of frequenting the map occasionally. Like, I don't think there's a ton of stuff to miss, but towards the end, there's definitely a few missions I wish I'd gotten to a little bit earlier.
Oh, okay.
Like, I got a certain character, like, pretty late in the game, and I suspect I could have got him more like halfway through the game, and I didn't really use him because of that. But it's an awesome game. Like, it's an awesome game. It's a cool soundtrack. I'm pretty sure about 10 people made it.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at their, I ran across their itch.io page. It's the number 6eyesstudio.itch.io. They actually have a demo on there for PC, for Windows OS 10 and Linux.
Gotcha.
That looks fairly recent, so if anyone wants to check it out, go check that out. Looks cool.
That's awesome. I'm sure it is great on the PC, especially since, like, when you go to, like, the guild to recruit, like, a generic character, you can, like, they have a character customization thing, and they have a face option, and on Switch, you cannot tell the difference between the faces. And I don't know if that's a Switch problem, or if you can tell on the PC. Like, graphically, it looked fine to me on the Switch, other than I don't understand these customization options.
Right.
But they have a lot of cool, like, all the story characters will have some sort of story class they will get at some point, and you, like, a couple of them you have to kind of seek them out, but all your generic characters, they have all these, like, crazy specialty classes, like a lich or a werewolf or things like that. It's also funny because, like, most of the specialty classes are all, like, evil sounding things. Like, here's your story character that's your sweet, innocent, whatever recruit person who always has, like, a really positive and uptake, and her specialty class is Hell Knight. You know?
Right. She moves from, like, dancer to Hell Knight.
Yeah. Personality doesn't change, but she just randomly has demonic powers. I guess it's a little less random. They have, story things to introduce it. But I really like the game a lot. If they make a sequel, I will buy it. I encourage anyone who likes Final Fantasy Tactics to go play this game.
So, two things looking at their website. First off, it's on Steam, GOG, Switch, Xbox One, and PS4. Also, it is a two-person studio.
I believe it. Like,
yeah, that's awesome.
Like, when the credits rolled on the game, like, they have two sections to it. Like, the first section, I'm like, there's only like 2 or 3 people in this credit thing.
They have like 20 titles each.
Yeah. And then they went to a cutscene, and then they went to another set of credits that had a bunch of other people. But I think those other people are, like, translators and, like, generic, like, Xbox, like I don't know what to
like
representatives at companies, like third party things that they didn't necessarily hire out to make the game, but they hired out to help either port it or license stuff from
Right.
or market it in a different country or something.
Right. That's
But
cool.
It's I don't know if they've done any other games, but really good outing for it for me.
Yeah, that I already had this on my wish list because at some point I had looked at it and been like, yeah, that looks like a game I could enjoy, and haven't gotten around to it yet. But yeah, that looks cool.
It's funny how I talked myself into this because I was like, they've had this game on the Switch store called Tactics V, which I still have not bought or played. But I was trying to determine it was good by reading reviews online. And someone in one of the comments said, well, this is no Fell Seal, but I'm like, what's Fell Seal?
Tactics V Obsidian Brigade is a pretty good title, though, for a game.
Yeah. Like, and that game looks pretty cool, too. I'm probably going to get that at some point this year. And these games are like in the $20, $30 range, so it's perfect for where I'm at financially right now.
Yeah, and there's also that other... Oh, there's that other tactics style game on Switch that it's like a trilogy of games. Oh, I don't remember the title, but that's been on my my radar too. That looks maybe more maybe less Final Fantasy Tactics like and more a little bit more simple, but yeah, I'm happy to see more of these games on Switch.
Yeah.
Now put Final Fantasy Tactics and Advance 1 and 2 on Switch, Square, please.
Oh, please.
Please. $60 for that triple pack is... I'm more than happy to pay for that.
I just want to play those games on a decent screen legally.
Well, and the unfortunate part about the PSP one is all the spells and summons had that horrible slowdown. So like they cleaned up the translation, they added some more cutscenes and stuff, so that version was great except for using magic, which was a real bummer.
Yeah. Well, and I have my PSP and I have my DS, and every time I think about playing those, I'm like, ooh, but I'll have to look at that extra small screen because the older they get, the smaller they get, like period. And I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah. Put it on Switch. Switch wins.
So, I also played a bit more of the Collection of Mana. This time I actually tried Trials of Mana. Played that a little bit. I picked the, and I don't know how to say any of the, well, okay. The character I picked, I don't know the proper way to say her name, but her name looks like Reese's to me.
Okay.
It's spelled R-I-E-S-Z. So...
Okay.
Anyway, she's the Amazon character.
Right.
And then I picked Charlotte and Angela. I don't remember which was which, but one of them was like this weird little cutesy thing that I thought, okay, this for sure has to be a healer of some sort, right?
Right, yes.
It's the little cutesy thing.
Yep.
And then the other was, I don't know, a woman with like she's part animal somehow, and I can't remember, like,
she have a tail
which
or
animal. Like, I don't remember if she's a cat person or... But
Gotcha.
she's basically just a human with, like, cat ears or something like that. But she's
it's
like
like
a
Isla from Chrono Trigger, where it's like you're sort of a little bit animal, but like not a ton.
Yeah, but like with actual animal, like I'm pretty sure Angela has a tail, but I might be wrong.
Gotcha.
So I played a little ways into this game. The menus were not great.
Yeah, they're very much of the Super NES era.
Yeah, like Secret of Mana is one thing with all the various spinning menus that you can get stuck in. This one adds a very like you go to the main menu and you're only viewing it for one character, and like the way the menus are set up is there's actually I think something like 9 menus that you go left or right to access from that menu or up or down. And then, but that's only for one character, and I don't think you can access the other characters in your party's menus, but I think you can. I think somewhere in there you give them the equipment. It's been a few weeks since I played it. It's not great.
Yeah.
So I played in a little ways. You still run into the other characters you didn't pick too, which I thought was interesting. They basically have this evil race of beastmen that are taking everything over randomly. And it was somewhere around that point where it was just, I was wandering around this city trying to get out, and every time you run into a beastman, it kind of resets you. Like, you aren't allowed to fight them, you just automatically lose. I think I've come to the conclusion that I want to like the original Secret of Mana, Trials of Mana games, and I just don't.
maybe that's a good case for the remake of Trials of Mana, where it's like maybe they'll bring all that stuff forward, they'll modernize it a lot.
I just really don't like the original combat system. Like, you're in the situation where you have an attack button, you don't have a dodge button, you don't have a block button, and yet you're just gonna basically bang your head against the wall anytime you fight an enemy and hope that you can run out of the way. Like, you're very dependent on recharging your stamina to do a decent hit to something.
Right.
And granted, Trials of Mana, the stamina meter, I think, is much more palatable than in Secret of Mana, in that, gosh, I don't remember my reasoning behind that. I think it was, I'm sorry, I'm thinking the original game, which the stamina meter, like, takes a literal minute or so.
Final Fantasy Adventure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just remembering that one. They're all blending together in my head at this point a bit.
Yeah.
But I really like the art and feel of those games. I just don't like playing them. So I hope the remake is really good and they fix the playing part, because I want to like it. Like, the music in those games, great. Like, you turn it on and you're like, oh, I miss the Super Nintendo. Like, that's what it makes me feel like.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, Super Nintendo music. Like, this stuff was good.
Yeah, anyway. So moving on, briefly want to talk about Marvel Strike Force. Namely, this happened a few weeks ago, but they rolled out a patch that was an auto kick for the alliances, and the way it was supposed to function is, on the default settings, anyone who had not logged into their account in 2 weeks would be kicked out of the alliance. And how it actually functioned is it booted 80% of everyone in every single alliance, just about.
We talked about this on TVGP just very briefly a couple weeks ago, and just like the scale of this mistake is just... Because, like, an auto kick function is great because you can set up like exactly how you want people to get automatically kicked.
It rolled out with an automatic, like, on switch
for like 80% of every alliance. So like instead of it saying like, oh, you know, if you're older than 2 weeks, or like there was a grace period while you're still set up, they just kicked almost everybody out of every alliance.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
It was the craziest thing I've ever seen in a video game.
And what Moon was talking about on the show is, like, unfortunately for the alliance that you guys are in, is like some people weren't in Discord, so you don't know who they are, like, so you can't get them back into the alliance.
Find them again.
Yeah, and it's just like you had a stable, solid alliance that of course auto kick stuff is important, but like now they're just gone to the ether forever.
Well, and what they wound up doing is rolling it back by like a day or something like that.
Right.
They turned it off, rolled back the alliance, and reset all that. So everyone got back in, but if they had left it, we absolutely would have lost like 5 or 6 members permanently.
Right.
But it's still like in the makeup rewards on that, like, they gave us a lot of stuff, but unfortunately, like, Marvel Alliance is a game where you spend like a month trying to get a character, and then you get the character, and you have to build them up like star-wise, which requires these shards. So you'll spend like several months trying to upgrade their shards. So when they just give you a bunch of materials as a, well, here's our apology to you, like, you immediately just use them all and move on your way. Like, you don't have any...
They last for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's not like you got a free character, or, oh, here's a free 100 shards of this character that maxes them out for you or something like that. It's just, oh, now I'm going to equip this tier of equipment, and now I'm on to working on the next tier. So it doesn't feel substantial, but it is one of those level of mistakes that I can't talk about without laughing, because it's so so absurd.
Yeah, it's a bad day for, like, and you never. I know the obvious finger to point for a lot of people would be QA, and like QA gets pooped on for so many reasons that is really frustrating. But man, a mistake of that scale is just so bad.
I mean, it's just like a decimal point or something like that,
right.
Or like a, oh crap, I mistyped this variable, or
right. Instead of like variable equals 14 days, they put it as like 144 days, and just like, oh no, 0.14 days. Oh god.
Yeah, something weird happened. I don't know. Just one of those odd things to remark on. Like, I'm still playing the game. I'm still enjoying it. Honestly, we have a good Alliance community on the TVGP Discord. So that helps a lot.
Poke my head in there every once in a while, just like make sure people aren't posting racist memes, which of course they're not. But like, I need to go into like the shadow zone every once in a while, and like it seems like you guys have a real solid alliance going on.
Yeah, it's a good balance. Like, our players that are very like a little bit more hardcore and a little bit more like, man, these people need to log in or whatnot, are kind of balanced out by one with Moon when he pops his head in, and also like the one or two whales we have in there are like such easygoing people. Like, they're very pro. No, let's keep this relaxed, but just figure out different ways we can encourage people to participate. So
it's like you're doing well enough to get the rewards, and it's like, that's fine, that's good.
Yeah. So, and lastly, I won't talk about my part on this too much, but I played, of course, Epic 7. They had their year celebration where they gave us a metric ton of free units.
Very generous, I thought.
This is our first year anniversary for the game.
It was 10 free summons every day, and I swear, like, a couple of those days, like, all I did was get epics out of it, like, through half of the things. And, like, a lot of them were 4 stars. Like, I think one day I got 4 of Karen or something like that all at once.
Right.
But now I have the problem I need guidance on, which is, Mina, how the heck do I start choosing who to build up next?
Well, I think, like, the number one thing most people go through is that, like, getting really good gear is kind of like, that's true endgame. Like, the units or whatever are like only like a part of having a good team. It's just getting the ability to get the good gear, so that there's like a Wyvern 11, Golem 11, Banshee 11, or whatever. Most people aim for either Wyvern 11 or Golem 11, so typically it's all about building a team to handle that, so that you can farm like the level 85 gear, and then from there you kind of progress to trying to work your team towards being able to do hell raids, which is even more end game stuff, right? So typically you just kind of think to yourself like, okay, what gear do I need the most of? Do I need a lot of HP gear? Do I need speed gear, crit gear, whatever?
Or like, how are you going to build that specific character?
Yeah. So, most people either choose doing Wyvern or Golem first. I did Wyvern for quite a while, and now I'm back to doing Golem because I believe Bruiser meta is going to be huge. I think Bruiser meta is going to be the hugest meta we're going to have over the speed meta, which I think is dying out. So Golem it is for me.
So maybe that's where I need to focus on, because I feel like I've hit a plateau area with my main team where they aren't quite good enough to move forward with certain things, but I'm not. I guess those are just the main place to get the equipment. Then is the hunts.
Yeah. The hunts are the hunt is basically like, I'd say it's like the one that you can clearly see a goal to achieve. Like, you can work your way to 10, or like, 8, 9, 10, 11. Once you hit the 11, of course, that's where you're farming. But yeah, pretty much going for that. You also want to try and do the labyrinth. There's the regular labyrinth, and there's the hell labyrinth. You want to do the regular labyrinth, because even though that gear is like level 67 or something like that. It's always got like really incredible stats on there. So the potential on that is actually pretty good. Yeah.
The problem that I'm running into as someone, I feel like I'm still sort of beginner-ish. Like I have one good team, like one level 60 character, but I'm still sort of, I have this wide array of characters that I'm ready to build up, where it's like I got Shadow Rose and I've got all these other people that like I'm ready to. Oh, who did I just pull? I don't remember. I have Sigrid. I have a couple of people that are all really good that I'm happy I pulled. But the amount of content in Epic 7, I don't think feels daunting, but just the amount of stuff that's in there is pretty incredible. And I don't think there's any of it in there that I don't enjoy doing. It's just sort of like, all right, what do I need to focus on now so I can make a little bit of progress?
I talked about this with somebody because they were trying to figure out like what's the biggest difference and why I played a lot of mobile games, but I've vouched for Epic 7 since its creation, and they were like, what makes Epic 7 so different from the other mobile games that you play? And I really strongly believe it's that they constantly try to make new content, or they try and take like some of the older content, like events. They're always slightly tweaking events, so that way it's not, you're not getting like, this is basically a repaint of the last event, the last event. So they always try to add something, like even though it's not like a brand new thing, but it's always just like a little tweak to kind of change it up a little bit. And
they always have those fun little events that last in the background for stuff. Like right now there's the whack-a-mole one that's going on, where it's like you just do the stuff you normally do per day, you get 5 mallets, you whack a bunch of stuff, and you get some free stuff. Like there's always, you're always working on something, even if you are maybe doing just like, I'm going to work on the event that's going on right now. There's like a celebration event, and by doing 5 levels on that, you just worked on like 4 different objectives across all this other stuff.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that. I think that's one of the reasons why like I've played other mobile games where it's just like, this is literally a repaint of the last 50 events we've done. Just you know, the same event, just
or there's different. Like 6 events and they just cycle one after the other. And it's like, okay, this event coming back, all right,
coming back again.
Yeah,
I don't know. So I really appreciate that they go and try and tweak it just the slightest bit. It's pretty amazing to look at like the event we have today and then go back to the very first event that we had and see the difference between that. Because I feel like because of all the minor changes that they've made to events over time, it makes the 2 events look pretty different to me, the way they ran the events. So even though it's just been like tiny little changes to each event, it's definitely made the overall experience a lot different. But yeah, this is their 1st year anniversary. They hit their 1st year of this game's official launch. And so they gave us all those wonderful rewards, including a
ton of stuff. Yeah.
Right? It's so generous.
Yeah.
And I think my 5-star that the game gave me was another Destina, which I wasn't upset about because they did a nerf to a couple of the Moonlight summons. I actually traded in my Silverblade Araminta. I traded her in for a Rule of Light, which is a healer. And the Rule of Light, you can use Destina for memory imprints. So,
cool.
So I imprinted her, and now she's giving like a health % bonus to the team. And I really like her because I feel like she's got a more unique skill set than Araminta did, whereas Araminta was just like this AoE mage, like big burst on turn 1, and then after that it's kind of nothing until you wait until you build up enough to do her big burst again. Rule has a heal attack on her 1st skill, and then her 2nd skill is a big heal with a barrier, and her 3rd skill is a revive with an immunity,
wow.
or if you use it before someone dies, it becomes a full heal with immunity.
Wow. Yeah, the unit that I pulled that I forgot about was Angelica. That the healer that I hate to fight against in PvP.
Right. She's people always build her the same way. You build her super HP tanky, and then you slap an idol's cheer on her,
Yep.
and then you just, you know.
that's the build I already have. I just need to start leveling up.
Gosh, I remember like the first month or so I was playing, like I was in arena, I'm like, oh, it's just one character, but she's level 60. Well, I'll play her anyway. It was Angelica, and I couldn't beat her.
Yeah, just like
Yeah. So, Icetown was talking about how she'll carry you to Wyvern 11. So what you can actually do is that particular build with Angelica, if you put her in the first slot, the top right slot.
like the tank slot.
Yeah, the tank slot. If you put her in that slot and you built her super water tanky, the way Wyvern 11 works is instead of like randomly targeting different people on your team, it always targets that tank slot and hits it 3 times. So if you have like Angelica in that spot and you give her like that artifact or something, basically she'll keep herself healed and she'll also be pretty tanky, and if you build her right, she'll be able to survive the entire time while you have the rest of your team just be super attacky, like make them all glass cannons, like just pure glass cannon, because they're not going to get hit. So who cares if their health is like
Angelica's going to tank.
Right? Angelica is the tank. So that's actually
crazy.
what the team I ran was. I ran Angelica in the front with a Luna, Kisei, and I was doing Dizzy for a while in the back. Those 3, and just, mow down Wyvern 11 as you do.
That's crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Epic 7 is great. This is the game that I play every day, and I always have fun with it. It's so good.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
And our guild is now doing Guild Wars. If anyone listening wants to join, hit us up in Discord, because it's pretty much always full. But we have a couple scrubs in there that we can kick out. So a bunch of people that don't want to do Guild War when it comes up.
Yeah, man, I forgot to do Guild War on Thursday, because it's like every day, isn't it?
It's every other Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Monday,
I think?
Wednesday, Friday. Yeah,
Oh.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
I did it on Wednesday, and the very first team I fought, within a couple of turns, I think it was like 4 or 5 turns, wiped out both of my teams. It's like, okay, well, that's Guild War for me.
I would so what I usually do is on my first 2 out of 3 attacks, if I'm about to lose somebody important, I go and yield immediately.
Okay.
So when you yield, even if like someone's in the middle of killing you, like they're doing the animation and they're winding up and you're watching the health start to go down, if you pause, yield, you save that person from death.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So like
have to start
sometimes I
doing
go up against a team and I'm just like, oh, I think I got this team, and then I see them like immediately whop out like a 20k hit. I'm like,
Right. You're just like, gotta go.
nope. Peace out of that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Go play Epic 7. Epic 7 is really great.
Real quick, I need one more piece of
Oh,
advice.
sure.
Yeah.
It is a minor one, because I have Bloodblade Karen, who I like a lot, and I just got Karen, in the last couple weeks, really.
Right.
I haven't used Karen at all yet, but I fought against her, and she seems like her normal version is good too.
Yeah.
But I have a bunch of extras of Karen. Should I even bother building up normal Karen?
The 2 are both really good, which is like not normal for like every unit, where like it's kind of like I could see the argument for either one. Regular Karen I've used, and I've fought against some regular Karens that have really tore me up. I think, see, I really like normal Karen, but I have a friend who always insists that Bloodblade Karen is a lot better. Bloodblade Karen has like the big like oomph damage, like the big explosive damage, whereas I think like Karen, you build her mostly, I believe you build her like just like crit. You want her to be able to always crit, because then she gets that wind up afterwards. And if you have the 5-star artifact, the RNL, Rihanna and Lucinda or something like that. If you have that artifact and you put that on Karen, it can be nuts. I fought a Karen once that she basically one-rounded me in arena.
Wow.
Like all of my units, because she kept proccing that RNL, because the RNL procced after her ability, which was like, okay, she gets a turn back again, so she hit me again, so she gets a turn back again, she hit me again.
Jeez.
She basically wiped out all my units before I even had a turn, and
Wow.
so that was pretty nuts. And yeah, like Icetown's talking about how he uses normal Karen for Wyvern 11, and her defense break on S2 helps a lot. Yeah, the defense break really pushes her up for me. I think both of them are good. I like regular Karen more, but I think you can't go wrong building either one. The one thing to remember about the way their memory imprints works, though, is like the memory imprint isn't like buffing themselves; it's buffing their party members.
Right.
So when you memory imprint a unit, like for example, like Dizzy, memory imprinting her, she gets like the attack percent. She's giving that to her party members, the attack percent. And you always got to look and see, because sometimes specific units are only targeting certain like squares.
It might be like just the top and the bottom ones, but not all
It might be
four.
the top of the. So then you want to make sure that you have that unit not in the top or bottom square. You just move them to like one of the squares where they're not buffing a spot, so that way they're maximizing their square buffs.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's tricky.
That one's really hidden in there, where it's like a 2 or 3 menus deep.
Yeah. So like
that changes my team composition immediately.
So it's kind of important to see like what sort of if you're utilizing memory imprints, but just kind of keeping aware of like, okay, this memory imprint is going to give a crit percent up to the party. So then who is going to benefit from that crit percent?
Right.
So it also kind of helps me like when we buy because every season of Arena we can buy one of those memory imprint things that you can fuse into a unit.
Mm-hmm.
I always try to make sure that I think about, okay, this isn't going to buff the person specifically. This is buffing the party they're in. So am I using this unit often enough paired up with whoever else that they're going to benefit from that percentage increase? So
Right.
that's something to kind of think about when you're utilizing those memory imprints.
Cool.
Yeah.
That just makes me immediately want to go in the game and stuff.
So Epic 7's pretty great.
Yeah. Go play
Cool.
Epic 7.
Well, that's all I got, guys. So.
All right, Mina, what have you been playing this past month?
So aside from Epic 7, I have been playing Fire Emblem 3 Houses.
Yeah.
So I started getting sick like roughly around little before this launch or whatever, and because I was just pretty much bedridden the entire time, that was a lot of time to play with the Switch.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm fortunate enough that Fire Emblem 3 Houses came out, and I started playing that pretty excessively. I picked the Golden Deer House.
Okay.
Which
is that the Claude house?
That is the Claude house.
Yeah. Everybody's favorite Claude.
Right? So I picked that house. I knew it's kind of weird because all of my friends actually picked either Black Raven or the Blue Lions. I think those are the right. Like everyone else picked that. I was the only person to pick the Golden Deer, which was strange to me. I was like, why wouldn't any this clearly seems the best house.
Look at him.
But he's great. I feel like I need to mention something later about that voice actor. So I picked that house, and I don't want to spoil anything about it, but it gets to that point in the game where a lot of stuff happens, and you kind of see where the picking of the houses kind of diverge.
Oh, the time skip stuff.
Yeah, that stuff.
Yeah.
So it hit that point, and I gotta tell you, I think if I replay this game again, I'm gonna have a hard time not picking the same house again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I really my opinions and thoughts align so perfectly with the Golden Deer and slash Claude's mindset. I disagree with the other methods. I disagree with the other people, like just opinion wise. So I actually was very careful in how I played Three Houses, and I managed to recruit everyone that you could possibly recruit, like outside of my classroom. Every other classroom only had 2 students, so the Black Ravens had like 2 people, and the Blue Lions had 2 people, and meanwhile my house was like what 20 some students.
50 people in your classroom.
Like, they were like, I want to join your class. I was like, sure.
Like, hell yeah, you do.
Everyone
have tea with Claude.
So I really I don't know. I like the Three Houses. I could see why some people would say that they don't like Three Houses all that much. It feels, I don't know, it feels very different from the other Fire Emblems I've played. I don't know if that makes much sense, but it feels different. I mean, I know they got rid of like the weapon trinity is kind of gone.
Yeah.
There's other aspects of it that, you know, I'm not too Fire Emblem savvy, but I could feel the difference. It's just I guess maybe it's just more of I don't know if this is the direction that they're taking Fire Emblem from now on. It feels very much though like if I were to describe the difference between the Fire Emblem now of the Fire Emblem then, I would kind of make the point of like look at Persona 2 and then look at Persona 3.
Right.
And I'm like there's a difference.
Yeah,
you know?
it's like it's more. To me, it seems like it's more of an evolution rather than really significantly changing things. Because I think Fire Emblem Awakening was such a genuinely surprise hit here in the States, and I think if they would have done the same thing again, I don't think Three Houses would have done as well. I think Fire Emblem has been in need of that evolution a lot like Persona did, where it's and in some regards Shin Megami Tensei did too, where it's like you're taking the next step. Like it's fundamentally still the same thing, but you're really bringing it forward.
Yeah.
So how do you? I've heard a lot of people say the game is like Persona, but those people who've said that, I don't consider people who spend a significant amount of time with Persona.
It's in a school, and that's Persona.
I was like, wait.
I think people are trying to say it takes place in a high school-like setting, and their characters do have an affinity level for each other, but I mean, you can say the same thing about Valkyria Chronicles. Like it's very much not a Persona game.
Well, and don't they have like non-combat days or something now where you have to spend your time doing X, Y, and Z?
I guess.
In the first chapter, right?
Yeah, I guess it has like you know the calendar month and then like you decide what to do that day. You could, I guess, go to Tartarus, which is the you know sort of thing, like spend your time leveling or hang out with people. So I see that. I just don't see
like there are no social stats or anything like that then.
Not the way that I see it.
Okay.
I'm distracted because there's a huge spider on the wall, and like I'm gonna what was I saying? I need to not look at it because it's freaking me out. It's huge. It's the size of my thumbnail right now.
Jeez.
So like the whole thing is like I see that whole like Persona sort of like okay, it has now like the more social elements, I guess, from what like original Fire Emblem would be, like I guess going from map to map to map to map,
mission
you know?
to mission,
to mission. So now it's broken up a little more where there's like things to do outside of that. But it's not like obviously the combat's not very Persona-like. Obviously, it's. I guess it's got more socially sort of stuff where I think someone would be like, oh, this is like Persona, but
yeah.
I mean,
There's like a framework around it now instead of mission to mission, sort of how that was.
I mean, you do get to have the opportunity to run around now, like, and just kind of waste time doing nothing, wandering around like your little Inaba.
Nice.
But are you like... Are you going to the ramen shop to get the challenging dish to raise your courage stat?
Well, I mean, you actually can eat food to raise your stat for the month. You can actually eat food with your students to kind of raise their affinity. And then they have their little social conversations. Like they have like up to like 3 or 4 like social events with each other.
And that has been a staple of Fire Emblem for a while, though, right? Like the social conversations as people level up their affinity towards each other. I
think that's been in and out of like some of the Fire Emblems. I know that it's been like a permanent staple since like Awakening. Like Awakening has like solidified those social sort of things for sure, 100%.
Right.
And they always had like the little sort of like the like, oh, you maximize this person, so now you're all romantically involved, and then you could pair off like different characters together. This one you don't get that sort of pair off thing where it's like clearly these two have tied the knot together.
Right.
Does not seem to do that in this one. So
I mean, that mostly answers my question. Like it was just like every single person in review who did that. I'm like, I've kept track of you. You have not spent any time in Persona. Like, you really mean this?
Is it really Persona, or is it you just sort of saying that because it's in a school? Yeah.
No, yeah. I think a lot of people who might say that are just like when they go into an RPG, like every RPG seems to have the same thing. They come to Persona and they're like, what is all this socially stuff out of nowhere?
This
like,
music's
where did
crazy.
This come from? Like, and so like what sticks with them when they see Persona is like the socially elements. That's what Persona is, right? That's Persona.
Right.
And then like you go like it's the same thing. Like someone always said like everything is Dark Souls. You know, when the game's like too hard or whatever, they're like, man, I've been really beating my head against the game. It's like Dark Souls, and I'm like.
Is
that's
it really?
not,
I do say that. In all fairness, there are a lot of Dark Souls-alike games nowadays.
Yeah, especially recently, yeah.
But
like,
it is overused. Like, for a while there, it was when I was doing the carousel.
Any hard game was a Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Like, when I was doing the carousel with Jake, like, any third-person game with a dodge button that had, like, what do they call them?
iframes.
Animations. Iframes, thank you.
It's a Dark Souls.
Like, he basically determined it was dark. It was a running joke with us for a while because he kept doing it.
But you get what I mean. So, like, I think a lot of those people just kind of say, like, oh, it's got social elements. This is a Persona.
Right. It's a Persona.
Yeah, no.
I've been trying to determine when I'm going to play this game because it sounds good enough that I want to.
It reminds me, like, when I first started playing, I was thinking to myself, like, this is Harry Potter in Fire Emblem.
Right.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's a better, because you have the different houses and who have very different views and outlooks on how they should handle stuff, and it's, yeah.
You even have, like, the little mead hall area where I was like, if they just, like, had some banners hanging over these tables
some
right
floating
now.
candles, we'd be good.
We'd be like, they even have, like, this little open area where we can get on some broomsticks over here and play some Quidditch. But yeah, no, Fire Emblem Three Houses, I'm enjoying it. I haven't finished it yet. I haven't been feeling all that well, so it's kind of like the game that I'm just lay around and play and try to get better. But that is all that I've been playing. What about you, Boston?
Oh boy, I haven't. I talked about this, I think, off air maybe last week, where I've been in a mood for like 8 to 10 hour games that I can sort of put in my console, bang out, and then like see the credits and then put back on the shelf, which is very much not any RPGs. So, like, I've still been playing Destiny 2 and Diablo 3. There's a new season of Diablo 3 that isn't really interesting enough to talk about. So it's sort of been more of the same, but trying to knock out a bunch of stuff. But I feel like the pendulum will swing the other way, where it's like, I need like a 60-hour RPG. Let's do that. So, bless you. So maybe next month I'll pop an RPG in, but so far that hasn't really been the case. So I haven't played anything super interesting except for Control. Go play Control. Let's talk about RPG releases for the month of September 2019. Divinity Original Sin 2 Definitive Edition is out now for the Switch. That was announced as part of the Nintendo Action Pack Direct that we will talk about here at the beginning of news stories. But boy, it sounds like that's a pretty good port, and I should play that game at some point.
Man, I don't have the money for it. Gosh, I just want to go buy a Nintendo Switch Lite for my wife, or whatever they call it, and get this game for both of us. Like,
yeah.
I don't think she'd actually play it with me because she hates turn-based RPGs. But for a few minutes, we'd be in bliss when she attempted it.
It's worth a shot, yeah. Greedfall coming out for PC, PS4, and Xbox One on the 10th. This is a new action RPG developed by Spiders. Either you know them and have a strong opinion about them, or you haven't heard of them yet. They most recently made The Technomancer, a not great game that I have a very strong love for. This seems very interesting. This is like a colonialism action RPG that seems like it could be pretty good, but we'll see as reviews come out. See if it will be a Spiders game or not. Borderlands 3 comes out PC, PS4, and Xbox One on the 13th. This game is just landing at a bad time. There's too much other stuff to play, and Borderlands 3 looks pretty big. So I
cannot decide. Like, I keep going back and forth on it. On the one hand, like I'm a little bit worried I'm still burnt out on Borderlands style games in general.
Right.
And then on the other hand, there's also like Randy Pitchford.
Right.
But on the other hand, it's like, I really loved those games back in the day. It's a game I could totally buy digitally, and my wife and I could play for a bit. And you know, at some point she's gonna bail on me, but we'll probably get a good like 8 to 12 hours of enjoyment with each other out of it. You know. But also, Daemon X Machina comes out the same day, and I really want to play that.
Yeah. And Daemon X Machina is definitely not. It's more of an unknown than Borderlands 3 is.
That's true. Yeah. You know, that may excite me more, because that was one of the exciting things about Felseal. Is like, I've never heard of this game.
Right.
None of the podcasts I've listened to have given me an opinion on this game. I can play this just in a vacuum almost. You know. Right. Which
it's a rare
is kind
treat.
Of exciting for me. Yeah.
Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch comes out for the Switch on the 20th, and then Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch Remastered comes out on PC and PS4 on the 20th. This has been a question of mine for a while about which version of which is coming out on what. So it appears the original PS3 version is coming out on Switch, which was fine, and then the remastered and slightly updated version is coming out on PC and PS4. I liked the first Ni no Kuni a lot, and I think Mina and I are the only two people that really liked that first game, and everyone else goes, it was fine except for laundry list of 400 things. So,
I liked the game and stopped playing it, and I don't remember how to play it anymore.
Yeah, it was okay. It was like a fun little Pokemon sort of thing, and it's still probably a really great looking game with an incredible soundtrack that's maybe a little long for its own good, but I had a lot of fun with it. So, if you never played the first, play the second one if you're only going to play one of them. The second one is really good. And if you like that one, play the first one. That's pretty good. Let's break down 4 classic RPGs from PC are coming out. Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition, Baldur's Gate 2 Enhanced Edition, Icewind Dale, and Planescape Torment Enhanced Edition. Comes out on the 24th for PC, PS4, Xbox One, and I believe they're also coming out for Switch, but I don't know if they're coming out on the same day or not.
So is it like... So they're already out on PC, like they've been out. Are they doing a new patch that does something else to these games or something?
I don't believe so. I think it's just... Maybe it's Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. Maybe I just mistyped this because I just always type PC, PS4, and Xbox One. But there is like a 4-pack of all of them if anyone wants to save a bunch of cash, if you're going to buy all of them. I think there's a pretty good amount of savings there.
Yeah, I just need to see a video with someone showing me how it works with the controller on the Switch. That's all I want to see.
Like, show me some Switch gameplay with a camera with somebody using it. Like, show me proof of life. Yeah.
Yeah. Once I see that, I'm in. I'm going to start with Planescape Torment, because that is the classic that I never played.
Right. Yeah, I played like an hour of that and went, this is really, really good. I really like this. And then I never played any more of it. Dragon Quest XI S Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition is out on the 27th for the Switch. So far, this seems like it's a really good version of it. It seems like it runs really well on the Switch. Obviously, it's not going to look as good as it does on PS4 or PC, but that's probably not what you're in for on the Switch version. You're probably in for a not bad soundtrack, still made by a garbage human. Let's be clear about that.
Yeah.
But the orchestral soundtrack and the really, really cool 2D version of it that makes it look like Dragon Quest 1. And Dragon Quest XI is really good. It's a really good JRPG. So, 2 thumbs up. Highly recommended. And last but not least, Destiny 2 Shadowkeep comes out for PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Stadia version might be out by then as well. Comes out on October 1st. So I will definitely be boring everyone with my excitement about Destiny 2 Shadowkeep come next month's episode. So keep an eye out for that question mark. Let's move into news stories here. Nintendo had an incredibly packed Direct this month. It just happened this past week. We have three announcements here for that are RPG related. The first 2 are sort of the hot bangers here. Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore coming to Switch on January 17th. This is the Wii U hit that none of us played because it was on the Wii U, except for Houston.
I love this game. Everyone should play it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's stupid and ridiculous and wonderful.
It will also include new story elements, a new song, and new characters. So it's not just the Wii U game ported up. So I have pre-ordered that already because I really want to play that, and I'm very curious to see how they're going to do it on Switch without the 2 screens. But very excited to play it and very excited to check it out.
It's the main thing, like the second screen was used for in that game, was just managing the dungeon, which is a little bit about what I'm worried about with it being on a different platform. But ultimately, Persona 5 used kind of the same logic of dungeon design, just a little bit more evolved on it, so it should be fine. Yeah.
Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition has been announced, coming in 2020. This is the a remake of the Wii game that I enjoyed a whole bunch, and I put like 70 hours into it and still wasn't done with it. But that game is really, really great. And from the videos they showed, looks significantly better. They've done a pretty good job of that one.
With how much I liked Xenoblade Chronicles 2, like I've always meant to play through this one, and I played it a little bit on the Wii, but it was a friend's copy, and I stopped playing it just at some point. I lost interest, so I'm eager to give it another try.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And lastly, Trials of Mana, the remake one, not the one that's already out in the collection, is coming April 24th, 2020. They showed off a bunch of gameplay of that, and that looks pretty good. They took that game and they put it in 3D and they made it look really great. So I'm very curious to see how that turns out. Hopefully it is a very good remake, and it's not like the Secret of Mana one that we don't talk about anymore. Because that would be a real bummer. Moving on, Yakuza 7 has been formally announced / detailed. Like we've known it's been coming for quite a long time, but they finally took the wraps off of what this game is going to be, and instead of it being a beat 'em up RPG like the first 7 games were, it's now kind of a mostly turn-based RPG. They're calling it a command-based game where while you're picking, it's a lot like the Final Fantasy VII remake, where while you're picking commands, the world is still kind of moving very slowly, but you're doing Yakuza stuff with a menu. And I'm pretty excited, because I think we've had 7 action beat-em-up RPG Yakuza games, and I'm interested in them trying. It's a brand new character, brand new storyline, interested for them to come up with something a little bit new, a little bit fresh. So we'll see how that turns out. It's going to come out early next year in Japan, I think late next year in the US. So, and in related Yakuza news, the Yakuza Remastered Collection is coming west. This is the 3 PS3 games, 3, 4, and 5. On the PS3, they were 720p 30 frames. They're now 1080p 60 frames. They've restored a bunch of the content that got cut for Western audiences. That was they cut it because it was just really hard to translate originally. 3 is out right now. It's $20. 4 and 5 will come out every couple of months, and then early next year there's a $60 pack that contains all 3 of them, and it contains the day one sort of collector's edition one. Also contains a PS3 case for Yakuza 5, since that didn't come out physically here in the West. So if you want to complete your physical box Yakuza collection, you can finally do that, and then take probably in the next 5 years to play all the Yakuza games. Really quickly, Puzzle Quest is heading to Switch September 19th for $15. This is the original Xbox 360 hit version. Basically, they're taking the game and the expansion, and then they're adding another expansion on top of it, and kind of giving a graphical overhaul. So, it's nice to see Puzzle Quest coming back, because you can't really play it on much anymore, especially since the iOS versions don't work really at all. I think the Steam versions might, but it's nice to see that they're nice to see someone remembers Puzzle Quest, because the first Puzzle Quest is really great, and I hope it does well on Switch, because I think a generation of people missed it. And we talked about the 2D version of Dragon Quest as part of Nintendo's Japan Direct. They announced the first 3 Dragon Quest games are coming out on Switch for Japan. Looks like the Asian physical version of that will have an English option. So if you want to pick that up and play the first 3 Dragon Quest games, because you're like me and you thought, hey, I started with 8, maybe we should play some of the other ones. Looks like you can scoop that up on the Switch probably pretty easily. And that's all of our news stories. Surprisingly packed release and news story month for once. Usually it's sort of like, it's RPGs, nothing's happening. But if you can visit us at pickingupthepixels.com, everyone will find our files on the right hand side of the page. Already talked about patreon.com/E1M1, the ones are numbers. Where can we find you on the internet, Musum?
You can find the hub for all my musical endeavors at jbaudio.net. And that's it at the moment.
And Mina, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitch or on YouTube under Mina K.O. Rocket in Boston.
You can find all my shows at e1m1.com, or check out the new website I just launched, DestinyEmblemCollector.com. If you're crazy nuts about Destiny emblems like I am, it will show you where to get all of them. That was a lot of work, so I'd appreciate it if you check it out. I think it's pretty cool. And we'll see you all next month.
Bye.
Thanks for watching, everyone, and thanks for hanging out with us live, Icetown. We'll see you next month. Bye.